Welcome back, Truth Seeker. In the headlines, more tragedy, a familiar type of headline from the world of hip-hop. Unfortunately, there's just so much death connected to hip-hop, stories of rappers recently burning up grandparents, and worse, the latest Ugly God, young rapper, had a big year in 2017, as we'll get to, accused of killing his best friend's father. And what I want to talk about is why this story comes while he's 26 years old and why this was the news everywhere on August 5th when the killing was June 29th. It came 37 days after the incident. And just to notice, every website put out this story, published August 5th. That source right there, Hip Hop DX, August 5th, Complex, published August 5th. Hot New Hip Hop publication, article published August 5th. Again, this killing June 29th, but every publication wrote about it August 5th. We're going to talk about why this matters. And again, every story is the same, but the killing was on June 29th. So it comes 37 days later while the rapper U-God is 26 years old, born September 19th, 96. He'll turn 27 later this year, but he's 26 at the time of this news. If you're new here, Gematria, the very simple practice of coding numbers into words. The name Ugly God, this is the rapper who has the story, 37 days after the killing at age 26. The name Ugly God has Gematria values of 37 and 26, and we've talked about this. Look at the surname Bryant, as in Kobe and Bear Bryant. Again, Kobe, dead on the 26th day of the year on the 37-year anniversary of Bear Bryant. Kobe and Bear, 37 years apart on the 26th. You Ugly God, 37-26. I know I'm being super redundant, but I just want to make sure it sticks. Now, these numbers, in the original system of coding numbers into words, they represent the Godhead in Hebrew Gematria. And don't forget, the four-letter name of God in Hebrew also equals 26. If you haven't read my first book, it begins with a chapter about why there's 26 letters in the alphabet. Again, it connects how we have this 26-letter alphabet and the Kabbalistic belief about how God created the world with letters, numbers, and words, which comes from Cabal, and where 26 fits in because God is 26, Adam's 26, the first man made in the Bible in the 26th verse, Genesis 1:26, where God makes man, Adam, and again, Adam and God are 26, and then they say man is made from stardust, and the zodiac, it does a full rotation approximately every 26,000 years. So these numbers are big, and then in the original study of Gematria, which is tied to the Bible, here's some interesting things from the Bible about these numbers, 37 and 26. With regards to 37, the phrase I am is written 37 times in the Old Testament, 37 times, and Jesus says, I am He, 37 times in the New Testament. Jesus, the Son of God. I am in reference to God, 37, Hebrew, number of times. Okay, I'm going to skip over, there is more things here. I'm going to skip over some of this stuff. Again, the first verse of the Bible in Hebrew Gematria pays tribute to the numbers 37 and its reflection 73. But again, this word for Godhead has a numerical value of 37 and 26, or at least the numbers that relate to its numerical value. So again, within the study of Hebrew Gematria and Greek isopsophy, which are related, just like English Gematria is, now the practice of coding similar numbers into our words, there's this obvious relationship with 37 and 26. And if you've read my first book, which came out many years before Kobe died, I talk about how his surname has that 26 value like Jordan, and all the parallels between Kobe and Jordan, who've been celebrated as gods of the basketball court. But notice how Jordan is 26 and 37. And in the world of baseball, the Yankees and members of that team, this most winningest team ever by a ton, Yankees has that Gematria, 2637. If you're new here, again, these ciphers are based on the alphabetic order and numerology. and the reverse alphabetic order in numerology. Other ways to decode just include using the alphabetic order. That's the most simple. And in that cipher, in English, God, G the 7th letter, O the 15th, D the 4th, God 26, game 26. Worshipping the stars of the game, like gods, referring to them as stars, when man's made out of stardust, and the constellation, the zodiac, it does a full circle about every 26,000 years. The Mayan calendar, everyone thought it was going to be the end of the world in 2012. Their calendar, the Bach tunes, the 26 numbers is a part of that cycle of days. And off the top of my head right now, I can't think if it's 2,600 or 26,000. I think it's 26,000 synced up with the zodiac. And, just the Bible, right? The New Testament, it's 260 chapters, 260. Man's made out of stardust. There's 206 bones in the adult human body. 206, key digits 2 and 6. And think about the phrase, the body is the temple. If you run the alphabetic order in reverse and you write Masonic temple, it's 206. The body is the temple, 206 bones. In Jewish Gematria, sacrifice 206. A lot of suspicious deaths in history in connection to that number, like Kurt Cobain, who got replaced as Seattle's biggest celebrity the year he died by Bill Gates. And he died 206 days before Bill Gates' birthday. In Seattle, again, is the 206 area code. But, again, very intuitive system. Alphabetic order, forwards and backwards with numerology. And with regards to August 5th being the date of the news, everyone had this story on August 5th. Just secret societies, right? The phrase secret society is 58. That day can be written 5/8, the 5th day of the 8th month. It can also be written 8/5, like Isus Hominum Salvator, the Jesuit motto. And again, the Jesuits created modern Freemasonry. The calendar, the language, it's all very Catholic like the Jesuits. That's how it's all synced up. We just talked about what they did with Jamie Foxx on August 5th as well, with him having to apologize about writing "They killed Jesus." They said that was anti-Semitic, even though he left it vague with "they." And again, IHS is what's abbreviated in his latest movie, They Cloned Tyrone, where the secret lab under the church, it's behind the IHS, the button you have to get to open the secret door. But again, August 5th, 5/8, 8/5. Secret society's got that 58. So does Freemasonry 58. So does Rosicrucian 58. If you run it the other way, in reverse with numerology, if you run it the other way, notice how biblical is 58. Sacrifice, Father, Son, biblical ideas. Notice how Kobe Bryant's also 58. And remember, Kobe, he died the day after LeBron King James passed him in points scored. And King James, the real one, has a Bible named after him, biblical 58. The real King James was a Freemason and a Rosicrucian. Dropped dead at age 58 unexpectedly. Again, Freemasonry's 58, like Rosicrucian. Again, Jesuits, modern Freemasonry, all of this stuff created by this code, it all lining up perfectly, the same type of rituals over and over and over. And actually, let me type in the name Moses Malone, too, with Kobe Bryant, just so you can see this. Forwards and backwards. Kobe Bryant, Moses Malone. You see how they're both 4158? Again, Moses Malone died just before Kobe. Moses connected to Philadelphia like Kobe. Moses Malone drafted out of high school by Utah. Kobe drafted out of high school, finishes his career against Utah. And again, both men with the number 58 connection. Interestingly enough, the word star and the word stars. Star, 58. Stars, 58. Don't forget, zodiac is 58, made up of stars. Calendar's 58. The calendar, the zodiac, the language, all synced up. If you use numerology, Gregorian's 58. We're on the Gregorian calendar. Pope Francis is also 58. The calendar's named after a pope. Kobe died at age 41 on the Pope's 41st day of his age while traveling from Catholic Mass. And in the same cipher where Kobe Bryant is 58, so is Pope Francis. And again, it keeps unfolding, but it's not by accident. Pope Francis 59 the other way. Again, Benedict stepped down on the 59th day of the year for him. The 59th election, Biden becomes number 46 weeks after his birthday. And then Trump wins the 58th election, and then he's at the Vatican on very appropriate Jesuit date of the year. The two Jesuits, Trump and the Pope. But yeah, again, 2637, where we began. Ugly God is the name of the rapper. He's 26 years old. This number associated with God. The news breaks 37 days after the killing that he's the accused. And again, I mean, constantly, just stories like this of tragedy and killing and needless killing and within the family, within the friends, within the bloodlines. The same stuff just over and over. And here, I guess to make the other point, Tupac on the cross. Tupac on the cross. Think about it. Tupac, when you run the alphabetic order in reverse, is 74. Machiavelli, his rap alias, when you run it forwards, is 74. That album came out on Remember the 5th of November after his death. The album with Tupac on the cross like Jesus. Jesus 74. Machiavelli 74. Cross 74. Gospel 74. Parables 74. The word rapper itself 74. And again, Kobe. Well, here, again, Jesus. Let's just go Jesus. Tupac on the cross like Jesus. Nas carrying the cross and the crown of thorns on his head in the, I think it's Hate Me Now music video. So many rappers killed by this number, 74. Biggie dead a span of 74 days from his birthday. And on and on and on. But Jesus, the Son of God, the Catholic Church, again, a sun-worshiping cult, the sun, our nearest star. And then Kobe, dead in the 74th NBA season. Moses Malone, drafted in 74. The year Kobe retires, LeBron wins the NBA Finals. Cavs over Warriors on the real King James's birthday. And then 27 days after he scored 27, Nate Thurmond drops dead at age 74. And he played for the Warriors and Cavs. And again, that was LeBron scored 27 in the championship winning date on the real King James' birthday. Like there's 27 books in the New Testament, which begins with Matthew, which equals 27. But just the same patterns over and over. And again, it's just a straight line, right? And for the record, Masonic is 74. With regards to the secret societies, killing is 74. Roman is 74. Jesus crucified by the Romans. And just the other day, Jamie Foxx wrote, they killed Jesus, and then he had to apologize the same day in the headlines for being anti-Semitic, even though all he said was they killed Jesus. And I mean, how do you know he didn't mean the Romans? Well, why is it assumed that he blamed Jewish people? Remember, Jesus was from Judea. Jewish is also 74. Like Messiah, and that's what separates the Christians and the Jews, is the Jewish people say the Messiah still hasn't come. Jesus was just some quack in Rome performing magic, claiming to be Messiah, and he was a false prophet. So there are some people that hold that sentiment in Judaism. There's some Jews who've converted to Christianity because they've decided that Jesus, that was the Messiah and he did return, and the Christian faith is right because they're recognizing the Jewish Messiah who was prophesied. And again, the white supremacy angle. So here, let me tie this in. You remember what happened on the 74th birthday of Israel in the black neighborhood in Buffalo that has all this history going back to the American Civil War and the Underground Railroad? They had the mass shooting in the black neighborhood blamed on the white supremacist. White supremacist to 74, right? It was on Israel's 74th birthday. Supposedly, young white supremacist shoots up the black neighborhood with all the political history in New York. And notice how Jesus Christ is 74, right? We showed how Jesus was 74. Small way in reverse, Jesus Christ 74. The original Mason that Washington, D.C. is named after George Washington, who became president the year that Georgetown was established, the first Jesuit university in the nation. George Washington, Georgetown. Again, D.C. always been the Jesuit stronghold, been the headquarters for Washington, D.C. for Masonry for a long time as well. The House of the Temple, or for that region of the country, I should say. Anyhow, the white supremacy thing. White supremacist 74, right? Tupac, we just talked about how Tupac, Machiavelli, Jesus, they're all 74. Tupac on the cross on special day to the Society of Jesus, the Jesuits. Remember the 5th of November, Guy Fawkes Day, the day they tried to blow up British Parliament with fireworks. This nation celebrates its birthday on 7/4. Holiday and Independence Day are 74 for the record. Killing 74, 3 of the first 5 presidents dead on that day. But I'm having trouble keeping my chain of thoughts. The white supremacists. Okay. Tupac, all these 74 connections. Jesus, 74 connections. Jewish-ish. Jesus was a Jew, Jewish. Jewish with the 74 connection, meaning sort of, or not exactly, or ish. It's an ish job. Tupac died on September 13th. Again, September 13th. Caesar Borgia's birthday. White Jesus, the way you see him painted in most churches, is modeled after Caesar Borgia. It's part of the Holy Roman Empire. The only physical description left in the Bible in Revelation 1:14 and the passages after. It's the only place in the Bible where you get any kind of physical description of Jesus. Revelation 1:14. And then a few verses after. Dark skin, hair like wool in the physical description. Again, it sounds totally black. And we all know the phrase about history to whitewash history. The United States of America. There was originally darker complected people here. And again, they got genocided. And in the history books, it goes down that Christopher Columbus discovered America, even though all kinds of people already lived here who were a lot darker than him. Whitewashing of history. And the 74 number, it cuts all through history. 9/11, right? 9/11 on the 74th meridian west on the Christian Coptic New Year calendar, the day that some people believe is Jesus' actual birthday, because in the Bible, if you follow the signs written at the time of his birth, that has more to do with the summertime. And again, the Catholic Church has been celebrating the sun and the birthdays, death and rebirth on 12/25 since before Jesus. And remember, it's 46 years apart. 274 AD for the sun in the sky, 46 years later for Jesus. 274 AD, sun in the sky, 320 AD, Jesus. Both connected to December 25th birthdays because of the Catholic Church, which worships on Sunday. Male offspring, object in the sky, sun, language, calendar based on the sun. Calendar based on the other sun too, because we tell time in relation to Jesus' death. So the calendar is based on those two things. The life of Jesus, the sun, and the seasons and months are dictated by the position of the earth to the sun. But yeah, as the earth, and the sun make their cycles, these rituals make the cycles by the same old numbers. And what I'm saying is, it's the Jesuits controlling the entertainment world, and there are a lot of sacrifices. And the thing is, almost everybody in the U.S., if you surveyed them, would know that Kobe Bryant died a few years ago, because Kobe is a larger-than-life star, and his death shocked a lot of people. At a very young age, this mega star who'd been with America for the majority of his life. Again, he entered the NBA in '96, the year Tupac was killed. It's weird that Moses Malone died on the anniversary of Tupac, and how his death's connected to Kobe, and getting Kobe in the 74th NBA season, and Moses Malone drafted in '74. And But yeah, again, these rituals with the same numbers, they're happening all the time. And the thing is, if I survey people about Kobe, they remember that. But I ask them about Ugly God and maybe 5 other stories like this that we've talked about, they don't remember because it wasn't as big as Kobe. Kobe was big enough to stick in their mind's eye. But the point I'm making right now is this stuff's happening a lot. And it really is just as important if Ugly God's father was murdered by the same cabal and it blamed on something else. In the case of Kobe, his pilot whose name equaled 41. Remember they said Kobe's plane took off at 9:06? And again, he joined the NBA in 96. Debut game on 113 when Kobe Bryant's 113 in reverse, 157, dead on his 157th debut and 41, both numbers connected to his name. But again, they're human lives and they're being killed by a cabal that's manipulating us. Again, we are celebrating these entertainers in all different ways with our time, attention, money. And again, it's not exactly the entertainer's fault, but they're becoming part of something really evil. And that's why people need to understand how the system is and why the system needs to be not supported so that it can be stopped. And again, by understanding the code that they're doing this by, you can see who's into that code, which gives you the answer of who's doing it. People have been speculating for years. Who's behind all these conspiracies that they're happening? Well, I think we're pointing it out, loud and clear. Especially when they're putting out movies like They Cloned Tyrone and having the lab under the church with the button hidden behind the IHS. Here, again, just, and what they've done to us with this school system and education, which is really indoctrination, and training our minds for how to think and what kind of information to consider and what to dismiss. And essentially what's in most of those heads is just what they learned in school and from the authorities that they now trust, which are mostly, again, people who are on the screens. But yeah, somebody sent me this book to check out, 50 Years in the Church of Rome. Thank you for the person who left this information. And I'm just going to read a little bit of these pages. This is pages 509 and 510 in the book. And it's Abraham Lincoln being quoted. But it goes on. It is with the Southern leaders of this civil war as with the big and small wheels of our railroad cars. Those who ignore the laws of mechanics are apt to think that the large, strong, and noisy wheels they see are the motive power, but they are mistaken. The real motive power is not seen. It is noiseless and well concealed in the dark behind its iron walls. The motive power are the few well-concealed pails of water heated in the steam, which is itself directed by the noiseless, small but unerring engineer's finger. The common people see and hear the big noisy wheels of the Southern Confederacy's cars. They call them Jeff Davis, Lee, Toombs, Beauregard, Seams, etc., and they honestly think that they are the motive power, the first cause of our troubles. But this is a mistake. The true motive power is secreted behind the thick walls of the Vatican, the colleges and schools of the Jesuits, and the convents of the nuns and the confessional boxes of Rome. And again, it's just like how Thomas Jefferson and John Adams died on the same day, July 4th, 1826, and then 1826 days later, Monroe died on 7/4. But again, holiday, Independence Day, killing, Roman, Holy Roman Empire, all these things 74, this huge pattern with death. The Ides of March, remember the killing of Caesar on the 74th day of the year. President of the U.S. is a Caesar of Rome. President and Caesar have the same gematria of 47, the reflection of 74, and also the date. July 4th can be written the 4th day of the 7th month. And again, just 47, that ultimate authority number. Time, authority, government, president, White House, Republican, Democrat, Caesar. DC, the letters DC in reverse are 47. But yeah, and in a way, we learn in the history what happened supposedly in Rome and how near the end was the assassination of a president. And now we're coming up on the 47th president of the United States, right? All roads lead to Rome. History repeats itself. That's why at this moment, like getting this information out, we're being brought to a climax in a bad story that so many people believe in. And again, I'm trying to find the example, the way to present this that makes people absorb the knowledge. This morning, somebody made a video ranting about how sick they are of me talking about Kobe Bryant and things because Kobe's not that important. Again, that person is not understanding the strategy. Again, Kobe's death connects all the elements of what we've been presenting about for a decade. The code, the Catholic Church behind it all, how it all syncs up, how the rituals unfold. How the same numbers in Kobe's death connect so many other deaths. Going back to, again, Jefferson and Adams, and I didn't finish the point. Jefferson and Adams were penning letters about their concern for the Jesuit suppression ending, which was going on at the time this country was beginning. The Pope suppressed the Jesuits because there was too many rumors of their corruption in Europe, and they were giving the Catholic Church a bad name and a bad look. And again, they served the Catholic Church. And people say what was going on is the Jesuits were saying that ends justify the means. Our job is to make sure the Catholic Church is number one. Europe is behind the Catholic Church. And if we have people that are subverting that, well, those people are stopping God's will, which is the Catholic Church ruling all. So those people need to be killed. The ends justify the means. They're going as far as murder to solve their point. And again, some people, a lot of historians have written about how bad the Jesuits are. Me coming along in 2013 and starting to connect dots that hadn't been connected, that was the new piece that I brought to the puzzle. And there's also a lot of people who say, oh yeah, people always blaming Jesuits and Masons. Maybe the reason a lot of people have been bringing up the Jesuits and the Masons in regards to what's wrong is because they've been right. Maybe not right about everything, because it's not all Jesuits, not all Masons, but it's obvious that this is the network that works by the code that was established by them and relates to them that's doing this. And again, until that information is widely known, we're not going to get to the next phase of the game and say, just like he writes here, the Jesuit universities, haven't I been speculating the same thing? You start to look, you're like, all these people are Jesuit educated, and they're all doing these major things on the world stage by the code that's synced up with their education and their Jesuit school. Lo and behold, sitting U.S. president writing about it. And remember what happened to Lincoln, It just makes you wonder, too. Lincoln was killed at age 56, just like Hitler, and they're both killed in the month of April, which equals 56. And Donald Trump, Jesuit educated, declaring the pandemic 56 years after his Jesuit education began, and so on and so forth. But goes on. There is a fact, coming back to this story about Lincoln and how people are, all they see are the noisy wheels, right? That's like the news, right? All people know is what they see each day. All the noise, the talking heads on TV, the same stories, caught up in all the storylines, the politics. But they're not looking through that and seeing what is behind all those talking heads on the same talking point about the same crap over and over. See, I started to figure out some game like that was going on because I saw the number thing in the news. I was like, the same numbers are used way too much. Sweet lady just put on a movie the other night, A Murder in Oregon. Movie's from like a decade ago. It's set in Portland in the Pacific Northwest. It was like one word. I already forget what the name of the movie was. But a woman survived a serial killer. She's been free from that traumatic experience for a few years. And then her sister disappears. And they never got the serial killer. So she thinks the serial killer got her sister to get back to her. But they got to say right in the beginning, again, out of the 50 states, the only state that equals 74 is Oregon, but they got to say right away in the killings in Oregon, they got to say that like the disappearance, I can't remember if it was the disappearance or the time of death, but they got to put it at 7:04 right in the movie. And then she's talking about her 47-year-old mom, like soon after that scene. It's like, there it is again, 7447. I looked at those numbers forever before I knew Gematria. I was like, what is it about putting these numbers in front of us? Is it just because our nation's birthday? Oh, you find out Gematria again. Just that this is why I still can't believe people don't get it. It's like they should be picking up on the same patterns because it's the same numbers everywhere. But Gematria itself is 74. English is 74. Slipknot has the song Gematria, the killing name. a cult, and everything else we just talked about: Jesus, cross, Messiah, gospel, parables, riddles. I mean, that's what they're putting down for us every day. Riddles. This is a riddle. These people chosen for the world stage. Oh, by the way, this guy was named as one of the top young rappers of the year in 2017 on June 13th, the day leaving 201 days left in the year. If you're new here, it's a real special Jesuit number. That's why Pope Francis is the first pope to live in Suite 201 at the Vatican. But here, coming back to this, there is a fact which is too much ignored by the American people and with which I am acquainted only since I became president. It is that the leading families of the South have received their education in great part, if not in whole, from the Jesuits and the nuns. Hence those degrading principles of slavery, pride, cruelty, which are as a second nature among so many of those people. Remember how the Jesuits are always doing these little tiny payments for slavery and bringing up reparations like Jesuit agent Gavin Newsom? It's like they're using the pain they created to continue to manipulate people. And it looks like that's one of their tactics, right? Create really painful things, create a story out of that to control the people for their benefit, which ultimately hurts the people even more. And the whole time they're not realizing who's doing the hurting. They're always believing these stories written by Jesuits, just believe in the Jesuit stories as history unfolds. Hence those degrading principles of slavery, pride, cruelty, which are as a second nature among so many of these people. He's talking about the Jesuits. Hence that strange want of fair play humanity, that implacable hatred against the ideas of equality and liberty as we find them in the gospel of Christ. You do not ignore that the first settlers of Louisiana, Florida, New Mexico, Texas, South Carolina, and Missouri were Roman Catholics, and that their first teachers were Jesuits. Doesn't it make so much sense, you guys, that this is what was going on at the beginning of the nation? And the capital was moved from Philadelphia to the original Jesuit stronghold in America, the D.C. area. And then all of this stuff just doesn't make the history book anymore. People don't even know who the Jesuits are, even though they helped set up much of the country. And people don't even realize that they're being manipulated by Jesuits by reading English versions of the Bible and understanding them as they do and getting caught up in these things from a young age. I mean, again, look at how many Christians really have zero tolerance for other ideas of thought. My sister's a great example. There's a lot of great examples. It is true that those states have been conquered or bought by us since, but Rome had put the deadly virus of her anti-social and anti-Christian maxims into the veins of the people before they became American citizens. Unfortunately, the Jesuits and the nuns have in great part remained the teachers of these people since. They have continued in a silent but most efficacious way to spread their hatred against our institutions, our laws, our schools, our rights, and our liberties in such a way that this terrible conflict became unavoidable between the North and the South. As I told you before, it is to popery that we owe this terrible civil war. He goes on, I would have laughed at the man who would have told me that before I became the president, but Professor Morse, so this is a historical figure to look into, but Professor Morse has opened my eyes on that subject, and now I see that mystery. I understand that engineering of hell, which, though not seen nor even suspected by the country, is putting in motion the large, heavy, and noisy wheels of the state cars of the Southern Confederacy. Our people is not yet ready to learn and believe those things, and perhaps it is not the proper time to initiate them to those dark mysteries of hell. It would throw oil on a fire which is already sufficiently destructive. So anyway, the Jesuits. History. What's going on today? The code. Just checking at the chat. Somebody says, I don't want to talk about white replacement. Well, I mean, okay, so this white replacement theory that white people are being phased out, that's how some people perceive it, but the way I see it more is, the power structure made it very favorable for white people in this country for a period of time. Easier for everything. Easier for work, education, housing, everything, staying out of jail, all these things. And it does seem, like, again, I understand where they're coming from, because living in Seattle, a city ahead of its time for what America's becoming, kind of like a prototype city for what they're changing America into. In the mid-2000s, like 2006, 2007, I guess, I'm trying to think. I quit my job at the end of 2006, so I was looking for jobs and better jobs in the time I was going back to school to become a teacher, which is what I was doing at that time. And I was getting some feedback that, you're really great, but you're not exactly what we're looking for, and you get the hint that, they're looking for darker complected people because of diversity standards and all this stuff. And, they'd say right in the print that they're a big diversity employer, and they strongly encourage people of these ethnicities to apply. And I didn't think it was that big of a deal, because in a way, I get it, right? It's like I have this historical perspective, societal perspective. I'm thinking, okay, well, I feel like we're trying to right the wrongs of the past. And in the time that's been going on, it's coming to more of a climax and a pitch. Things are more dramatic. These kind of experiences are all over the nation now. They're not just in cities like Seattle. And that you just see how it's the pitting of the races against each other in the media nonstop now. Growing up in the 90s, you did have the Rodney King beating, but it really did feel like we were overcoming racism, and it just felt like people were more comfortable in their own skin, and race was a lot less of a focus as what we had learned about it being in the past. And anyhow, you just see how all of these things that might have started as good ideas and maybe trying to get justice for wrongs of the past, but in a way it's unfair too, right? Because it's like, wow, if you really are qualified for the job, you should get the job, but they're not hiring you just because you're not dark enough for what they're looking for right now at this employment time. I mean, there does feel like there's something wrong about that, because ultimately that is racist. But you can see, like, initially where, okay, maybe it's coming from a good place and just trying to balance the field. But now it's like that, so people have resentments from experiences like that, and now it's like you're turning on the TV and it's trying to make you take sides in these racially divisive topics. And yeah, so I don't feel like it's white replacement theory. I don't feel like that's the right name, but I feel like it is like a changing of the guard, a reshuffling of the deck, rebalancing of the field, however you want to put it. And for white people who are losing, like if they had a better share in this society, they're losing some of that share. But I don't feel like that means you're being replaced. I feel like it's happening for the exact reason I'm expressing, just to create the tensions. All things good and bad, too. For some people, it is creating a positive thing, but ultimately, it's just about creating tensions and getting us to essentially have another, as I read about the Civil War. Remember, they're forecasting like the next Civil War. They're talking about that in the language. They're doing this thing with January 6th, 201 days after the Albert Pike statue fell. And again, coming out of George Floyd, which was a huge 2-all wonder show, which happened on Memorial Day, which came out of the Civil War. It's like they're just doing things to piss people off. People don't like change. Change is uncomfortable. Change can feel more dramatic than it actually is. So I don't see white replacement theory as the thing. I see, if I'm explaining it clearly enough. I mean, sometimes things are easier to explain than others. But yeah, I don't subscribe to white replacement theory. I do subscribe to reshuffling the deck theory and putting people in camps needlessly theory and more of the same old theory. So that's why, if you notice my channel, it's about one overarching theme. How every day's media propaganda is to program us and keep us on the same conveyor belts of life, doing the same old thing without getting off and stopping this system that's constantly in motion. And that's why it's so redundant. So, anyhow, thank you. Congrats to the winners. The song he blew up from is called Water. Okay. I think I saw that when I was looking up his history. I think that was the first thing I saw under his name. And you know, when the murder happened, June 29th, that was in the early days of Cancer, which is a water sign, so maybe there's something to that. Here, let's see if we can look that up real quick. I'd never heard of this man, honestly, before, reading about this story and looking up a few facts on him. The song premiered on March 16th, 2016 on Ugly God's SoundCloud account. Ugly God Water on YouTube, March 16th, 2016. So, what stands out about 3:16? John 3:16, God gave his only son for the world. Here we have a son killing a father. It's like inverted. And again, the story is that he killed his best friend's father. Ugly God. But March 16th can also be written 16/3, like 163 the 38th prime. And again, if you're new here, the word death is 38. It's using the alphabetic order. The base ciphers. Notice how RIP, oops, I didn't put up the base ciphers, did I? The base ciphers, RIP is 38 in reverse. Killing is 38 with numerology, and murder is 38 in reverse numerology. And again, song Murder by Numbers came out in 83, like Murder's 83. The movie poster codes the 8338. Things we talk about all the time. In the case of this story right here, there's also an 83 and 38. We talked about the story breaking 37 days after the death while he's 26, and how those numbers go back to God. And again, he's 26 years old. And his rap name, Ugly God, equals 26 and 37. That's where we began. But if you count the span of days, instead of it being 37 days later, if you count the span from the killing to the news breaking, that's a total span of 38 days. Rapper also has that 38. Remember, Africa's got that 38. We were just talking about how on August 3rd, Newsweek put out that article about how the countdown to the deadly war in Africa is underway. And, the list goes on. Tupac and Biggie died on 38 date numerology and so much more. That recent house party movie in LeBron's house where it pays tribute to the Illuminati, Kid Cudi is 38 years old at the time that movie came out. And I don't want to ruin the movie, but maybe I gave you a clue about what happens to Kid Cudi's character while he was 38. And then LeBron had the huge 38 ritual this season, didn't he? Setting the record, 38-year record he broke on the 38th day of the year, scoring 38. But yeah, if you count the span, this becomes 38 days instead of 37. And then also, from the killing June 29th to his upcoming September 19th birthday, that's a span of 83 days. 83 days. So, maybe in hindsight, I should have started the video there, since those are the numbers we almost always talk about with murder and rappers. And again, Jonathan, eventually his book will be finished, 38 special, about just all the hip-hop deaths in 38. So, and this speaks again to the point about how it's so important, and that's why they have it on these date calculators, so that you can count the days after or the total span of days. And we see it again and again in these rituals, how both those counts clearly matter. All right. So I actually wanted to do a video on a different topic, but we'll save it for later. A couple weeks ago, Jeff called in at the end of TFR and said that we really got to create a Gematria game, and I've been brainstorming how to make that game, and I've come up with some ideas, and I'll test them out. So, and you know, maybe in addition to it being like a card game, I'm thinking more of it as a card game than a board game. It could be both. But you guys get back to me. Is it more fun to play a game with friends that also has a board? Because a lot of board games do have cards. I mean, it would be easy to make it that way. I already know how it could be done. Or maybe you could have both versions. Anyway, maybe it can also become like a weekly installment on TFR. New Gematria game question each week. So if we can make learning this knowledge fun, I'm sure a lot more people will take to it. So anyhow, I think that's it for now, Truth Seeker. And again, back to the writing grind because Kobe Bryant Day is fast approaching. And looking forward to reading the book all the way through, start to finish. Again, it's about a lot more than Kobe Bryant. It's about connecting how his ritual is part of something that's so much bigger that's impacting us all. Again, you know, don't forget, he died at the time of the COVID pandemic, was buried in Corona del Mar in a big 201 ritual right after event 201 on the day leaving 74 days left in the year. So we're going to try to connect all the important dots, make people see how these rituals, you know, they obviously have an impact on the entertainer, but really that impact on that entertainer is really meant to impact all of us. And that happened in a big way when Kobe died because he had so many fans since he was the big star. Oh, yeah, you're right. I forgot to do one other thing. I forgot to measure from March 16th to the dates in question since that's the song. Water, the big song that put him on the map. And the anniversary of that would have been March 16th, 2023. The killing was June 29th, 2023. The killing was 105 days later, or a span of 106. And with regards to 106, you know, we see that one a lot in 106 in Park, the hip-hop music show on BET, Black 106. Again, we were talking about how the first black mayor of New York was the 106th, and how just outside Yale you have the Freemasonry for black men, and it's at Building 106, and on and on and on. And Obama's book, 106 Days After His Birthday. But the 105, that's the 14th triangular number. And just for the record, Dead has the connection to 14 like end. But also, we talk about the Freemasonry fingerprints on this. Masonry's got that 105. Order of Illuminati's got that 105. One of Freemasonry's plans, or one of the Illuminati's plans was to infiltrate modern Freemasonry. But yeah, I think that more than that number connection, I think the most important part is that his big song was Water, and then this killing comes in the time of Cancer, which is a lot like which is a water sign. And for the record, Cancer, it has that gematria of 26 and 37, right? Cancer's a water sign, 26 and 37. Ugly God, 26 and 37, 26 years old. The news of him being blamed for the killing 37 days after it happened, or a span of 38. So Cancer. Cancer's also 44 and 37, like shooting, 44 and 37. Kill's got that 44. So yeah, that does seem to be part of it. Think deeper on it, there's probably more to that. But appreciate that. Congrats to the winners. Good tip. All right, True Seeker, we will leave it there for today. And, well, I shouldn't say today because more might happen, but I'm going to try to leave it there for the day. And if there's big news, that'll interrupt. But, yeah, I'm excited about finishing this book. I think it's going to be impactful. And the nice thing about it is it's been easy for me to keep it to a shorter book, which is what I've been having problems with the other book, because the other book's about so many topics. And Anyway, I'll finish that one too eventually, but it might end up being longer than I initially wanted. Maybe I'll just let the short book be the Kobe book. So that's it for now. Thanks again to everyone who hits the like and the share. And it says there's almost 300 people in here and a little more than 100 likes. So for the people who didn't hit the like, if you please could, it'll help this video find more strangers.